Welcome to day 308 of our DeSo journey. I'm Ed Krasenstein here with my twin brother, Brian, and we have a special guest, Lisa Mariette, with us today. She's an original OG of BitCloud, I guess you could say. How's it going, Lisa?
I'm great. How are you doing?
We're awesome. It's
Awesome.
great to have you on the show. I think this is your first time, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's awesome. I know we've talked over Zoom before, so I wasn't sure. But yeah, Lisa's here. She just wrote a 2022 growth report, which is I think is going to be really useful for the DeSo community and apps that are being built on the DeSo community. So we're going to get to that in a little bit. Remember, these videos are sponsored by NFT Tech. They're an investor in Cloutfeed. So let's get into the news. The TeamDeso account was created and they made a post. And the TeamDeso account, what they're going to do is they're going to highlight creators, developers, and projects. And they hope to do it on a weekly basis. They said maybe not, maybe even more than that. I think Tropics actually had this idea and went to the core team to tell them what he thought they should do. And it seems like they embraced it.
Yeah, Tropics has really been pushing for creators, and I think it is important. I think there's been a lot of focus on developers, on maybe NFT artists, but I think just general creators who are just on the platform, just being consistent every day. I think some of them deserve recognition, and I know Tropics has been doing a lot to push them forward to the top. And I'm glad that TeamDeso is coming about. I think that they can actually probably come up with some unique ideas to kind of engage with new creators, boost longtime creators, OGs like Lisa maybe. But I'm happy to see it for sure.
Lisa, what are your thoughts? What do you think they should do? How, should they put out videos? How should they highlight creators?
I mean, there's a lot of different ways. You can feature accounts, you can talk about what people are working on because the DeSo ecosystem has so many different types of people and so many interesting people. There's people that I'm still discovering every day, and I say, "Oh, that is the cool." Something actually just the other day I said, "I didn't even realize this person did this," and it was so interesting, and I followed them, and yeah. So just talk about what people are doing because it's really interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people who are relatively high engaged on the platform and are posting every day. Some of them just kind of get glossed over, and their posts don't get engaged with very well. So I think anything to like kind of pinpoint some of these active accounts and just show them some love and bring some attention to them would be great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And Dharmesh yesterday, he hit 15,000 followers. And like he always does, every time he hits another 1,000 followers, he bought $15,000 of his coin.
Yeah, I mean he's really coming up fast. I mean, it seems like every couple of weeks he's adding another 1,000 followers, which is pretty good. Congrats, Dharmesh, and to anybody holding his coin, you just got another boost.
Yeah, Lisa, I know you're a fan of Dharmesh.
I mean, I love me some Dharmesh. Yeah, he's so smart and he's so good at what he does. He's such a nice person. He's so accessible. Yeah, I speaking of the report, like I actually emailed him because if you read the HubSpot culture code, like 125 slides, and then at the very end it says, "Tell us what you think." So I emailed the email address and I said, "Oh, it was really great, and I mentioned you in my report." And he wrote back the same day. He
Wow,
said,
that's awesome.
"Yeah," he goes, "Yeah, culture, awesome." And I said, "Dharmesh, awesome." And then actually he reposted something that I wrote actually this week, and it's been a good. I've had a good week on DeSo.
And now you're on their show.
I know it's like that.
And you're on Matreshka's show. What was that last week?
Last week, yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome. So
yeah.
Dharmesh also suggested that DeSo should create the world's simplest way to add user login to apps via a JavaScript or HTML snippet. And Nader actually replied and said that he loves the feedback and said that they're prioritizing a library that's going to be called DeSo.js that he thinks is going to achieve what Dharmesh wants. And Nader also went on to say, quote unquote, the first step was to implement derived keys, but now we have those. The integration experience can be made much simpler and mobile friendly out of the box. So I think that's something we should all be excited about. If there's this super easy way for users to log into apps instead of having to use Google login or Facebook login. which are pretty tedious to set up from a developmental standpoint. I think having a DeSo login not only is going to make it easier for developers to tie users into an app, but it's also going to bring a ton of people onto DeSo.
Yeah, and Dharmesh actually went on. I think one of the reasons he is asking this question about a login is that he wants to integrate a login on his website called firstword.com, which is kind of it tells you how many points you'd earn in Wordle. Wordle is a mobile game that's become super popular probably over the course of the last month or two. But just seeing that he said he wants to integrate DeSo login on firstword.com so that he can add features for logged in users. So if you're a DeSo user and you log into firstword.com, you'll be able to get some perks or maybe some extra tips. I'm not sure exactly what he's looking to do, but I think something that could be a huge part of onboarding other developers and just getting people to get excited about DeSo because you can log in on all these other websites.
Yeah, definitely. So I wanted to mention NFTZ. So right now the stats and the owner tab in your creator zone are out of date, out of sync. This is because of the hard fork, and there's still a little bug in Postgres and that I believe Nader's working on. He replied to the GitHub that he's looking into it. It's causing some issues with the syncing of NFTZ. The other stuff in your creator zone should work, but the owners tab showing the NFTs that you own is not up to date right now. We're doing some manual syncing, but currently it's out of date. So as soon as Postgres issues get fixed by the core team, this should be up to date. We're guessing a day, maybe 2, maybe 3.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with us. I know that it can be kind of not so fun trying to go and minting an NFT and having issues, but we should be moving forward soon, and we have a whole update, a whole UI update, UX update coming probably within 2 weeks. I know we said 2 weeks probably last week too, but some of these issues are kind of pushing things maybe a little bit further down the line.
Yeah, and this whole node syncing issue, it's something that needs to be addressed, and I think the core team's addressing it. Right now, it takes quite some time to sync the nodes once an update's pushed. But Tyne pointed out today that the Hypersync GitHub messages have just become visible on GitHub. Like previously, they must have been hidden. I don't know exactly how GitHub works, but they just appeared. And it looks like Hypersync's been being worked on for quite some time now, several months. And it should make syncing take place by a rate of 10 to 20 times faster than it does right now, which is awesome news. I think all developers are going to love that.
Yeah, as the database expands, I mean, you're going to need to do something that's going to speed things up, obviously. I mean, we're going to see an exponential increase in data as this DeSo protocol expands. I mean, if you think about having 2,000 daily active users right now, and then look towards maybe next year where we could have 25,000, I mean, that's going to be exponentially more data than we have right now. So any little way to speed up syncing is great, and I'm glad they're working on something now rather than further down the line.
Speed up the syncing. So Overcloud, it's an app that's been being worked on by MoveOn, which is essentially a company created by Don Hardman. And they're set to release a private test stage for their app anytime now. And this app it reminds me a little bit of Cloutfeed. I think it has similar ideas to Cloutfeed. It's a social app built on top of DeSo. But it's going to have different features. It's not going to be Cloutfeed. It's another app that's going to perform some of the tasks that you can do on Cloutfeed. They will support multiple languages. They will have custom filters for feeds, which is pretty cool. They're going to have a custom hot feed algorithm. I don't know if that means that every individual is going to be able to customize their own algorithm, or if they're going to have their own custom algorithm that's different from the hot feed algorithms on other nodes. But I think that's great. Having a different hot feed algorithm is going to be good for discovery. And also what they're going to do is when you type a URL in a post, it's going to show you a preview of that URL. And then when you post it, it's going to show up in the feed with that preview. Kind of like how Twitter does it with Twitter cards. When you post a link on Twitter, it brings up like this card that has an image from the page and a title under it. So I think that's awesome. That's something I've been hoping like Diamond App would bring for some time now.
Yeah, I love to see these new apps come on board. I think while they might be some competition for clout feed, I think that I know we've mentioned this before, the competition is actually an asset because anybody that over clout brings over are likely going to use clout feed as well. So I think that competition is going to breed innovation, but at the same time, it's also going to help everyone. So I'm happy to see it.
What are your favorite apps on DeSo so far, Lisa?
My favorite apps, well, I love Chime In because it gives us a chance to interact and talk. And DeSocial World is really cool. Got to plug that for Edo.
It is awesome.
Yeah, I actually had the pleasure of meeting him back in August in Berlin when we had Euroclout. And I'm one of those people that when I meet people who are really, really nice, I really want them to succeed. And Edo is the nicest person. He's just this really sweet Dutch man who also happens to be, this brilliant coder and yeah. So I love DeSocial World. And also I think it's really cool that Nader mentioned this. He said, they're meeting the needs of users that I didn't even know existed. And yeah, and I think I also have kind of a unique perspective on this because I live abroad. So I'm always thinking about different access points for linguistics. And I had somebody talking to me today. She was saying, oh, in Japan, it's a little more difficult because of all the lingo that people use. So I really love DeSocial World. And yeah, those are the apps that I use. I go on Chime In when we have a little hangout, and I go on DeSocial World, or I go on Diamond a lot. So yeah.
Are there any apps that are coming out that you're really excited about?
I have to see what they're out there.
I know there's a lot. There's a lot that are
Full
coming up.
disclosure, I'm not an NFT person. I know, heresy, but I'm looking forward to when we can have more interactive things. So if we can get, I know that one of the things that Yazin was talking about for Chime was doing video. Vibe Hut. I love Vibe Hut. Chris is doing a really great job with that.
Yeah, that's a really good app too.
Yeah, but again, it has to do with that interactivity because that's why we have social. It's to connect with people. So I guess I like the apps. I'm not a collector, so I think NFTs are really cool, but I don't collect them and I don't breed octopi. I think it's really fun for people to do it, but I don't do that. But I do enjoy talking to people and getting to know people. So yeah, Vibe Hut, Chime In, and DeSocial World /Diamond.
Awesome. And finally, before I talk about the community events and we get to you, we want to say congratulations to Doodles for reaching 8,000 followers. Lisa, I know you're a big fan of Doodles. You're part of Doodles Academy. So it's a great day for Doodles.
Congratulations, Doodles!
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we need a little.
All right, so the community events today. 11 a.m. Eastern Time is DeSo Week in Review with DeSo Chats, Michelle Lord, Miss Katie Ann. Brian gives an update. Wildography's there, French Connector, Conchi, Rhubarb, GDS, Clout Women Unite, Jay Vague, Slava, and Lendez, who's a big part of the Tunnel app. That's an exciting room always. You get an update of everything that took place on DeSo in the past week. And this week, there was a whole lot. So definitely attend that. It's on Clubhouse, again, at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. At 1 p.m. Eastern Time, there's a DeSo NFT raffle giveaway. I believe Matreshka is setting this up. Miss Katie Ann, Spunk Art, Wildography, French Connector, Jay Vague, Ugly Ass, Doran, and Lisa Jane are going to be on hand to take part in that. I actually went to the raffle yesterday, and it was really lots of fun. People could buy raffle tickets for 0.1 DeSo, and they gave away NFTs. It was really cool. 2 p.m. Eastern Time, DeSo Rhino Friday Chill Pad with Saving the Survivors, Wildography, and Tristan Wood. It's going to be a great room. They have that every week on Friday. They're doing great things for their charity, Saving the Survivors. They save rhinos in the wild in Africa. They do some really great things. So definitely take part in that if you just want to hang out. And let's get to you, Lisa. You're working on this growth report. You want to tell us a little bit about what it consists of?
Yeah. So what I did was so I was telling you guys. So I am a conscious leadership consultant, and people don't really know what that means. So
I'm just nodding.
you're like, yeah, just smile and nod, right? But yeah, so essentially it's dealing with different things that you can do. I spent 2 months working on it, but it's different things that you can do. I specifically wrote it for tech companies because I'm very interested in tech. And it's the things that you can do that are sort of nonlinear growth strategies. So everybody thinks, oh, let's do some hacks. You know, I was reading a book about growth hacking. And those types of things are great. And having like linear plans are great. But there's also things that we kind of take for granted or we don't think about, such as creating non-toxic cultures. Because if people are always arguing, or if they don't trust each other, or there's a lot of negativity, people leave, or they don't want to hire, or you gain a bad reputation as not being a great place to work. I wrote about this in the report. Almost 40% of people who work in tech want to leave because of toxic workplaces. And that's something that can be avoided very easily with just a few simple things you implement. Another one is wellness. So even though it sounds like common sense, getting a good night's sleep, taking time to rest, taking time for vacation, it's so important because it really does help your brain focus and be at its most productive and really be at its peak, be innovative, be creative. So there's wellness, and mental health awareness is really big and really important. Avoiding burnout, especially if you are in a startup, because there's not enough people, there's not enough time.
Yeah, exactly.
But you really do have to sort of set those boundaries with yourself and be kind with yourself and be aware of anxiety, of stress. You'll have more sick days. If you are stressed out, you have more sick days. It's just, that's the reality. Another one, in addition to culture, which, and I talked a little bit about this in the report about Dharmesh, he talks about culture, but another one is emotional intelligence is extremely important because, and I was mentioning this to you guys, but
what is emotional intelligence? Like, what's the definition of emotional intelligence?
So emotional intelligence is being aware of yourself as well as others and the effect that you have on others, and sort of creating safe spaces, psychological safe spaces for people to be able to show up and do their best. Because I spoke about this a little bit when I talked to Matreshka, but if you are in a collaborative environment, like in a startup or like in a company or on a team, you are trying to everybody bringing their best and everybody being their best and everybody, even if you don't agree, doing it in a respectful way that lets people kind of feel safe to voice their opinions, even if it's not the same opinion as yours, and really being able to come to a new conclusion. And if people have different opinions, which is actually a good thing, having everybody look, think, act the exact same way, that leads to actually lower innovation, because you don't have that diversity of thought, that diversity of background, that diversity of opinion. This is why Netflix has a vice president of diversity. So it's, I'm not just saying this because, you know, I think it's a good thing. It's actually.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, companies that have diverse management have 90% higher revenues than those that don't.
Wow.
So like how could you relate this, or like what advice would you have for people building on DeSo or just creators on DeSo that could maybe use some of this information?
Well, I think obviously read the report because it gives you sort of examples, but to give like a summary, I would say focus on 4 things. So the 4 thing, the sort of, think of it as like a table that has different pillars. So pillar 1 is wellness and well-being. So focusing on making sure you are happy, healthy, taking care of your basic needs, and focusing on that really mental health awareness that actually is more, when you do wellness initiatives in companies, mental health awareness has a 60-fold return on investment, which is higher than fitness solutions and having people stop smoking, which is really surprising. People don't realize like mental health is really powerful. And especially with the Great Resignation and people leaving and all of those things. So the first is wellness and mental health awareness. Second one is emotional intelligence. And this is I spoke about this, but Google has they've been doing mindfulness-based emotional intelligence training for their employees for the last 15 years. They've tested it, it works, and they've done it all over the world. They've done it at the UN. It's very valuable. So learning about emotional intelligence and because IQ is awesome, but in the tech industry, everybody's smart. So,
That's true. Yeah.
so the thing that differentiates the good from the great are, okay, do you have IQ? Yeah, so does everybody else. Do you have EQ? Oh, I don't know. Well, if not, let's
That
talk
could
about
be
it.
like the defining characteristic that could push you over these other people, maybe.
But
Is there
actually,
an EQ, can you take an EQ test? Like, are there EQ tests out there?
yeah, I'm sure you can. I'm sure if you just Google
Yeah, I'm sure you
EQ,
could, right?
yeah, but actually, no, and Brian, to touch on what you're saying, you're absolutely right. In the research, because it's a research paper that I did. It's 19 pages, but it was like research on all of these things, and they looked. One of the things that I quoted was that, and actually, it was from the book about Google's mindfulness emotional intelligence training, and it showed that of the top performers in tech. Let's see, one, two. Only two were intellectual competencies, or sorry, of the top six. Only two were intellectual competencies, and the other four were emotional competencies, including the top two. So motivation, what drives you, right? Intrinsic motivation versus extrinsic motivation. And I want to say ability to influence, if I remember correctly. Those are emotional competencies. So yeah, and then empathy and yeah, just showing up as your best self. So wellness, emotional intelligence, conscious leadership, which is sort of my title. I'm a conscious leadership consultant, but it encompasses all of this, which is taking responsibility for yourself. So instead of saying, well, this was your responsibility, I'm the victim, people are out to get me, they're doing this to me. No, we're all adults here. Take responsibility for your actions, and take responsibility for yourself, and responsibility for how you show up, for how you talk to people. And that really will help teams work in a much healthier, non-toxic way if people lead with respect and kindness. And that comes from mindfulness. And then the last one is culture. So culture is everything. As I was telling you guys, Dharmesh said, I love to quote Mr. Dharmesh, Mr. Shah. But he said, if I had to learn from my mistakes, because I've been watching his On Startups series on YouTube, it's really good. I highly recommend it for any founder to watch. But he said, if I had to learn from my mistakes, and that's the thing, conscious leaders admit that they make mistakes. But he said, if I had to learn from my mistakes and do HubSpot all over again from the beginning, I would focus on culture from the beginning, and I would focus on diversity from the beginning. And also having a diverse culture, it's not just gender, it's not just race, it's not just age, it's just differences of opinion, different backgrounds. Having that really sets you up for success, and that really sets you up for growth. And that's sort of what I found based on what top tech companies are doing and have been doing.
Yeah, it makes sense. And there's so many startups that are building on DeSo now that are going to be hiring a team and are going to, be looking for people to work for them. I think your report could kind of give them some insight in how to create a more diverse workplace, how to make sure they're taking in account this emotional IQ and, making sure people are well balanced. So, but like I said, I think it's a great report for anybody, but especially for those startups and those, the CEOs or the founders of these startups that are looking to create a team to build their apps and build their websites and nodes. I think it's just a great tool.
Well, and I also think like in crypto, anything crypto, everything's like so up and down, you know, it's like not very stable. So I think there is an emotional component to it all, especially if you're working for a startup that might have just got funded and maybe this other blockchain has taken over and you're like stressed out. So I think there's a lot of stress in crypto just in general, just because of the ups and downs and the volatility. So I think your report's great for anybody within the crypto space, anybody in general, I think.
Yeah, and that's sort of my hope, is that I hope people can find value in it. I think that DeSo has so many amazing possibilities, and I think we're all we really we want to get it right. We really want to see this thing take off. We really want to see it grow. We really want to see it be successful. And we all sort of serve different roles. So for me, as a spiritual teacher, the things that I know about are mindfulness, meditation, emotional intelligence, and building positive, non-toxic cultures. Those are the things that I can contribute. So, and then, people ask my opinion, I can give my opinion. It's
Yeah,
consultant.
please keep contributing, because I mean, you've been on DeSo, and I hear you speaking in these clubhouse rooms all the time, and your opinion, you have like really good opinions on things, and your knowledge, I think, can be really helpful for, like startups or just people in general. I think, people don't really look at the spiritual side of things all the time. People are just focused on what they're trying to get done. So it's great. So if somebody wants to read this report, what's the best way they can do it? Just go to lisamariette.com.
Yes. So if they want, there's a link in my profile. So if you want to go to from any of the DeSo apps, it's on my profile. It's at the very bottom. It says, I believe, 2022 growth report. Click on the link. It's a bit.ly link. It's on LinkedIn, or just go to my website, lisamariette.com, and then on the nav bar, it just says 2022 growth report, and they can read it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Lisa. It's great to talk to you and get your insight. I think it was a really great show, and we're happy to have you on anytime you feel like coming back.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you guys. You guys are it's fun. It's these
Yeah,
was really
it
enjoyable.
is.
I very much enjoyed seeing Brian in the snow.
Yeah, it was cold.
I did too.
So yeah, keep being awesome, and congratulations.
All right. Thanks again, Lisa. I'll talk to everybody later.
Bye.